topic before us this morning is strengthening compounding techniques in hospital and community pharmacy practice. Is it okay? Okay. Strengthening compounding techniques in hospital and community pharmacy practice. The topic is absolutely important to both the hospital practitioner and our colleagues in the community. It will help us as professionals in the practice of pharmacy to fill in the gap for several patients who need certain pharmaceuticals that are not readily available. And to do justice to this topic, we have invited a very important personality, the former Dean of Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences, University of Ilorin, in person of Dr. Isaac Olusola Aremu, Associate Professor of Pharmaceutics. So we can see that is the best person to handle this topic. We will not want to waste our time, and the second part of the webinar we're going to have another segment shortly after Dr. Aremu presents his own topic, and that person is the pharmacist Agbanye Chidi Lawrence. He's going to be speaking on antibiotic resistance for another 10 minutes. Dr. Shola Aremu will be speaking for 45 minutes. So shortly after the two presentations, we'll have another 20 minutes for question and answer and our comments. And before we commence, we're going to take home rules. We'll allow the presenters to do the presentations, and then you signify or you by raise of hand so that you can be unmuted to make comments, or you send in your questions through the group chat, and then the presenters will take turns to answer the questions. On this note, I want to appreciate the Department of Pharmacy, University of Ilorin Teaching Hospital, the Drug Information Unit of that department, for anchoring this program today. I want to thank our head of department, Pharmacist Rahman Afolabi, for giving us the privilege to do this presentation. We also recognize our pharmacists in the diaspora because we know that they love to join us every time we do the presentation. Thank you very much, everyone, for being on board, and we hope that you have a pleasant time. My name is Pharmacist DJ L.
Hello. Hello.
Are you ready?
Hello. Hello.
We are hearing you, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Good morning, colleagues. Let me start by appreciating the organizers of this regular program, most especially Dr. Ike Bello, Dr. Usayo Elegbede, and the entire colleagues in the department. You are doing a very wonderful job. And then I want to encourage that you keep the flag flying. It is a privilege for me to be invited to speak on this topic, strengthening compounding techniques in hospital and community pharmacy practice. I want to, before I go into my slides, I want to let colleagues know that this aspect of our practice is a very unique one. As far as I'm concerned, this aspect of our practice distinguishes us from others. In fact, it's a unique role that cannot be played by anybody except those who have been trained to do it. Compounding is not absolutely new to us. We are all trained pharmacists. We are all trained pharmacists. I want to start by showing us the outline that I will be presenting in this interaction. Sorry, just a little each. Yes. Okay, sorry for that little each. In this interaction, we will be refreshing ourselves with the introduction, definition of compounding, history of compounding, reasons for compounding through benefits, commonly compounded drugs, so drugs suitable for compounding, steps to strengthen compounding in hospital practice, steps to strengthen compounding in community practice. Now, by way of introduction, you all will agree with me, in our day-to-day practice, whether in the community, whether in the hospital, we do encounter cases that you have patients that cannot accept an approved medication prescribed by the prescriber. I give you a typical example. You have a pediatric patient who has cerebral malaria, and the physician is intending to prescribe quinine. Now, quinine tablet comes in the strength of 300 milligrams. The dose to pediatric patients is far lower than that, and you don't have the liquid form. Now, it's a responsibility, of an hospital pharmacist to be able to help both the patient and the physician out by turning that tablet into a liquid form. We will talk about that, as we go ahead in this presentation. More or less, we personalize, issue of compounding. We customize it. It's based on the need of the patient. Based on the need of the patient, which the patient cannot easily access, on the shelf. The compounding pharmacist, with physician consent, can produce a unique dosage form. Like the example I gave just a while ago, you can produce a suspension of quinine. You can produce or compound a syrup of quinine for the use of that small child patient who cannot either swallow tablet or the dose of the tablet is too high for that child. Now, definition of compounding, where we all know what compounding is all about. Like I said earlier, this just, to refresh ourselves. Basically, compounding is a practice whereby we mix, we assemble, we prepare, we label for the patient use. There's FDA definition, there's US pharmacopoeia definition. The two definitions are not too different. The key words are preparation, mixing, assembling, packaging, and labeling. Now, overview of compounding. Compounding generally includes preparation of drug dosage forms for both human and animal patients. It's not restricted to humans alone. We can compound for veterinary use. Oftentimes, the practitioners in animal medicine, they want certain recipe for the use of the animals. Take, for instance, sometimes they need antiemetic, and that antiemetic is not available in liquid form, and they want a liquid dosage form. The compounding pharmacists can help out in that instance. Just giving that as an example. There are so many examples of such. Preparation of drugs or devices in anticipation of prescriptions on the basis of routine, regularly observed prescriptions. Compounding of medicines does not sometimes also have to depend on maybe individual patients. We know what we call extemporaneous preparations. And those days, I don't know, some of these things may still be existing in some of our hospitals. Those days, we do a lot of extemporaneous preparations in the hospital pharmacy. I remember when I was doing my internship, I was engaged in many of these as a preparation towards the precision that will come from the physician. Preparations like Mismag, paracetamol syrup, chloroquine syrup, ferric ammonium citrate, and so on, ORT. There are so many. We'll talk more as we go on in this interaction. Then the reconstitution or manipulation of commercial products. Of course, that one is very common. You have some commercial products that come in form of granules, and it's part of compounding to help the patient reconstitute. Oftentimes, we instruct the patient to go and reconstitute at home. We try to describe the level with which the water should reach. I tell you, many of these patients will make mistakes because when you add water straight away, to the granules in the bottle, to that mark, and then the patient shake the bottle in order to dissolve the granules, according to your instruction, the level, may come down. And if the level comes down, if the patient does not know that he has to, make up to volume back to the mark, the patient may be taking an overdose. So what I'm saying, instructing the patient to go and do it, as we often do, may result into error. So it's our duty as hospital or community practitioners to even compound by reconstituting before they leave our service outlets. Let's look at the history of compounding. Now, the compounding is as old as, the ancient days of pharmacy practice. We often hear of apothecaries. We often hear of alchemists, the herbalists. They practice compounding. The herbalists of old, you see them, triturating a part of a plant, maybe the leaves, together with another part, maybe seed. They triturate together. That's a form of compounding. Now, that was even from the, the very, very old period, that predated the modern day pharmacy practice. So this set of professionals, they master the art of compounding dyes, incense, perfumes, preservative cosmetics, herbal preparations for use of their patients. And even at that time, they customize the compounding of their recipes for their patients. They individualize even the compounding of their recipe for their patients, because the kind of plant parts that they will choose for a particular patient may not be exactly the plant parts they will choose for another patient. Sometimes they may compound in powder form. Sometimes they may decide to also compound in liquid form by forming during concoction or decoction. So this has been on right from when the idea of medicine was conceived. The modern age pharmacy compounding began in the 19th century when science began to be developed. This led to isolation of compounds from plant sources or animal sources. And in the 1800s, pharmacists specialized in the resin preparation, compounding of food drugs. You will also remember, in our reference books, you often see Ipequahan tincture, morphine tincture. These are opium. Now, it's a form of compounding done, in those old days by extracting the crude drug using solvent like alcohol or water. is a form of compounding. I'm just giving us the background history that this art of compounding, has always been there. Now, with the isolation of chemical compounds, it led to, the manufacture of synthetic drugs. So mass manufacture of medication by the pharmaceutical industry, unfortunately, unfortunately, led to a decline in the variety of extemporaneously compounded products. Before the advent of mass manufacture, compounding was the order of the day in pharmacy practice. With the mass manufacture, many of these compounded products were taken over by the manufacturers, and this led to a decline. But nevertheless, extemporaneous compounding is still a relevant pharmaceutical service provided by many pharmacies worldwide. In advanced pharmaceutical practice, compounding, our colleagues in Canada, I've never been there before, but I've been to US, in Canada, in US, UK, they even tell me that in the community pharmacy setting, there is always a compounding session. And that is very, very stimulating and then very encouraging. Now, the idea of this topic is to stimulate us, to stimulate our interest to go into compounding practice. Because I am repeating, compounding will stand us out, even in the community pharmacy environment, from the charlatans, because the charlatans cannot do this. If you include compounding as part of our broad practice, we are going to stand out unique. So the continued need for extemporaneous compounding in the pharmaceutical manufacturing is driven by the individualized patient. Well, I've said that before. Now, reasons for compounding through benefits. Why do we have to compound? We compound because sometimes we want to, actualize a particular strength which does not exist in commercial form, especially when you have a geriatric patient. With a geriatric patient, the standard dose of our drug for adults may not be intended due to so many decline in organ functions. And because of this, you have to kind of compound a dosage form that will contain a strength that can be utilized by this category of patients. Another reason is when you want to combine medications. You have a situation whereby some patients, they have low tolerance of oral drug administration, especially solid. And maybe sometimes you have 2 or 3 medications to give to that particular patient. For instance, you want to give, mevantrine, you are giving a paracetamol, and this guy is just not ready to comply. Where we can combine, into a kind of suspension form by combining that paracetamol with that mevantrine. There is no drug-drug interaction between the two. And the simple thing to do is to powder it together, and then generate a vehicle like a simple sugar syrup. And then, of course, look at the solubility. If it's not soluble, we can bring in a suspension like a trigacant, and you form a suspension to help that patient out. I'm just giving that as an example. Allergies and intolerance to components of approved drugs may be a reason to compound for certain category of patients. Medications that aren't readily available commercially. There are a number of medications that are not readily available commercially. We have, you could find yourself, in a situation whereby you have a patient who is suffering from seizures, and then diazepam is indicated. Diazepam often comes, as tablets. But this patient cannot tolerate the oral because of the seizure problem. And may not even be able to even tolerate liquid oral because of the seizure problem. You can turn this diazepam into a suppository. I'll be talking more about suppository as we go on in this interaction. It's very simple to compound in hospital or community pharmacy setting. Maybe for the reason of flavoring. Pediatric patients especially, they have preference for certain flavor. We can individualize some preparations to ensure compliance by this category of pediatric patients, through compounding. Elimination of problem-causing excipients, prescriber-specific formulations, sometimes be reasons. The benefit to a compounded drug is that it may meet specific need in a way that a mass-produced product cannot. Of course, we know that. It allows the pharmacist to use their extensive drug knowledge to help the patient and prescriber create a truly unique treatment. Honestly, even in the hospital environment, you'll be respected if you can use your knowledge to help the physician out where they are handicapped as to what to do to a particular patient. You bring the knowledge of your drug, compounding to bear, and you bail that patient, you bail that physician out, you are going to be respected, I tell you. Likewise, even in the community pharmacy setting. It also gives the pharmacists a unique advantage, setting them apart from other pharmacists as specialists in compounding. Look, my passion for behind this topic is that at the end of this discussion, we will see colleagues, taking up the challenge of creating a compounding session in their pharmacy. And for the hospital, of course, I know, like Ilorin, I know they have compounding session. They can only strengthen it. They can only make it more robust. They are practicing it, I know. But they can make it more robust. And my joy will be that at the end of this interaction, some of the suggestions, we will be able to bring it to bear, Now, what are the patient categories that may require our services as a compounding pharmacist? Where patients require an individualized compounded formulation, I've said that over and over. Patients who cannot take commercially prescribed prescriptions. Patients requiring limited dosage strength. I've also spoken about that. Patients requiring a different formulation, we can turn pills into liquid, we can turn it into transdermal. And imagine if a patient requires a dermatological preparation, like say a diclofenac cream or ointment, and then you don't have the commercial ones around. Now, what stops you from converting the diclofenac tablet? Do some, simple calculations, and then you have a vehicle. Simple vehicle. You can even use simple vehicle of shea butter, butyrospamum sparking, as a vehicle, and then you make the ointment available to the physician. You are going to be respected if you go into solving these problems, both for patients and for the physicians. Patient requiring an allergen-free medication, such as one with colored dyes. Patients who absorb or excrete medications abnormally. Where this category of patients who the absorbance is erratic, the physician, have a way of adjusting the strength in their prescription. And the adjusted strength medication or prescribed medication may not be, in fact, it won't be available. So you come in to compound, whether in liquid form or even it could be in a suppository form, and like I said, the suppository preparation can easily be practiced in our either hospital or community pharmacy. I'll talk more as we go on in this discussion. Patients who need drugs that have been discontinued by manufacturers because of low profitability. Patients facing a supply shortage of their normal drug. Children who want flavor additives in liquid drugs. Usually, children, They want something that stays sweet, sugary, like candy, like fruits. You even see some of these pediatric patients. You see them not rejecting even some particular brand of commercial products because maybe the children cannot just tolerate the flavorant in that brand. So the children, you know, they are so selective in the flavors. We can help out through our companion activities. Patients will require multiple medication. I think I've spoken about that, you know, earlier. Now, the basic dosage forms that can easily be compounded in our practice: suppositories, rectal or suppository vagina, liquid dosage forms, dermatological preparation. That's the number one. Dermatological preparations can easily be compounded, you know, in our practice environment. I'll throw more light on that. Now, this is where I want to, you know, take some time, if I'm indulged, to do that. Now, examples of products that can easily be compounded in our practice. These are just some of the examples. Quinine syrup, honestly, you can turn quinine tablet. You have your pestle and mortar. Quinine is 300 milligrams. Do simple calculation. Pound your quinine. Do a simple sugar syrup, 667 grams to 1,000 grams of water. That's your simple sugar syrup. That will serve as a vehicle. If you have a flavorant, you know, around, you know, put a little flavorant, you know, then where quinine is not soluble in water, you have tragagan, you know, you bring in some tragagan, you know, to be able to suspend for a period that the dose will be taken from that syrup. You can easily do that. And besides, we're going to be talking about the development of formulary that we in the academia can be of help. We can easily develop, you know, in collaboration, we can easily develop a robust formulary for all this. Nystatin suspension for oral candidiasis for pediatric patients. You can easily turn, you don't have nystatin suspension in your hospital, and then the physicians is requiring nystatin suspension for the pediatric usage. You can easily turn nystatin oral tablet into a liquid form, get the tablet, you know, the units, do some simple calculations, pound it, pulverize it, titrate it, and then, of course, use simple sugar syrup as a vehicle. This, you know, more or less, they also call extemporaneous, freshly prepared. The diazepam syrup can do likewise if the patient is pediatric, and then it's the tablet you have, you can convert into a syrup. You can do a suppository. Maybe the patient is going through serious seizures. You cannot tolerate it, whether liquid or solid. You can prepare a suppository. Suppository, the basic vehicle, there are two basic vehicles for suppository, the lipophilic and the hydrophilic. And the common examples, you have the cocoa butter, which is lipophilic, and you have macrogos that are water-soluble bases. These vehicles can easily be accessed locally. However, there are still some other bases, some suppository bases that can be accessed even right there in your next door. Your next market. Where I have worked on some of these local bases, you know, severally. Aremu et al., 2019, we were able to standardize decafats as a suppository base from Agbanye gaboensis seed, popularly called ogbono. The seeds, they sell it in market everywhere. The process of extraction is so simple. We can come in, you know, to help our colleagues in getting this base extracted and then get it stored, you know, for usage in the hospital. Then you have the suppository mode. We have suppository mode. It's not expensive, for God's sake. So you can do your calculation, met your base on the water bath, and then incorporate the required quantity of the active ingredients. You know, you get solidified, you remove the mold, you wrap in the foil, and it's ready. Because it's extemporaneous, you dispense right there for physician usage to the patient. They are going to be respected. Vitamin B cold syrup can likewise. Ferric ammonium citrate mixture. This is BPC preparation. I remember when I was doing my internship, I was compounding this almost on a daily basis for the anemia patients. It's so simple when the patient requires, iron, in anemic situation. The Galenicals can easily be accessed. I'm going to talk about the Galenicals. Can easily be accessed. You can compound this thing. Colleagues, the advantage of freshly prepared products or compounded products over the commercial product is such that one of the advantages is such that the strength or the potency can almost be guaranteed as compared with commercial ones that have stayed on the shelf for quite a while. Degradation of drugs occurs with time. Now, maybe that product has been on shelf for 6-9 months. The percentage strength, active ingredient may have reduced to an extent that you cannot predict. But for the freshly prepared, you can guarantee it. You are just preparing it, and then you are dispensing within a week. Some can be up to a month. Yes, I will justify that. If you will leave it for a month, you have the preservative, the parabens. It can still, preserve that compounded product even up to a month. And then, of course, you control the quantity such a way that it will be a quantity that can be dispensed within that short period. And sanitizers. You remember COVID, this COVID-19 pandemic period spurred a lot of our colleagues to rushing to produce and sanitizers. They brought out their skills. When I saw some of the products, I said, wow, these are things that we ought to be doing, in our practice. Antiseptics, disinfectants, for God's sake, in our hospital, why should we still be putting on our order list all these disinfectants? We can compound it in the hospital environment. We can compound antiseptics in hospital environment. They use a lot of disinfectants, bleach for the toilet. We can produce this thing. We can compound. They are very simple. It's more or less like mixing, bring the water, dissolve, put a flavor on. That's simple. And we will be respected. ORT. That's why I was doing it. Also almost on a daily basis. When I was at Baptist Medical Hospital, doing my internship in Ogbomoso there, Miss Mag, methylated spirit. We still go and buy methylated, we still order methylated spirit. We can do it whether in our community pharmacy setting or even in the hospital. What is in methylated spirit? The methanol, the ethanol, and the water, distilled water. That's all. You mix, you pack. And then there's serious economic advantage. I'm telling you what I know. I'm not telling you verbal. The gap in the profit margin will be as high as 70%. And it will still compete favorably, better than the one you are, procuring commercially. Hydrogen peroxide. What is in hydrogen peroxide? It's just to buy the drum of hydrogen peroxide, bring in some little distilled water. There's a formula for it. Then you package, you store lotion, use iodine tincture, GV, glycerin mouthwash, diclofenac ointment, salbutamol syrup, promethazine suppositories. Promethazine suppository for patients who cannot tolerate the aura, and they are very sick patients. They are throwing up, they can't take liquid, they can't take tablet. Injection is also a problem. You can do promethazine suppository. The list is endless. It says, formulary on all this, we can develop in collaboration. And then our practice will take a new look. What are the equipment and materials needed in compounding? We have weighing scales. You know, the simple, easily affordable, even for the community pharmacy practitioners. I know in the hospital, this is not a problem. Where there's a will, there is a way. Weighing scales, workbench, portable stainless mixers to stirrers, water source. Yes, water source is important. Where basically, you don't need to go and set up a gigantic water treatment plant. If you have a source to a borehole, then a boiler. There's a boiler, you know, that has a thermostat that you can control the temperature, you know, up to 100 degrees centigrade. You know, the bowl passes through that boiler, and the water collected from the boiler, you allow it to settle, and then you can use calico cloth to filter. That water is, you know, can be used for your compounding. Pestle water, water bath, stainless graduated measuring jars, suppository molds, portable stainless filling vessels, different sizes, distiller, pH meter, stainless vessel of different sizes. These are just simple equipment. These are not gigantic. It can easily be afforded in community, even if you're community pharmacy. Space requirements through Galenical sourcing. Where for the space, I'm suggesting minimum, I said minimum. When it is small, it's better. With a minimum of 200 square meter space is recommended. Basically, this can just be divided into 2 sessions. Galenical stroke dispensary session adjacent to compounding room. It's just adequate for compounding. When I was in Baptist Hospital, we didn't even have up to this. We didn't have up to this. Maybe the space we had then was like 50 square meter in Umosho there. Community pharmacies, I'm recommending 100 square meter to be partitioned into Galenical stroke dispensary and compounding area. This is not too high, you know, and the Galenicals can be sourced locally if my assistance will be needed for those who will be interested with no cost. I'm driving this, it's not because, you know, I want money of anybody, I don't. I'm contented by the special grace of God, you know, but for my contribution towards making our practice to unique, I'm ready to give you information how you can source your Galenical. The Galenical are plenty in Lagos over there. I'll give you, by the time I give you 2 or 3 contacts, you get there, you'll be shocked. You have all these things, you can, and then you make the gap in profit margin is up to 70 to 80%. Now, what are the steps? I'm rounding up before I'm asked to, I'm rounding up. Before the moderator will send me packing because I can see moderator looking. So I'm afraid. I hope she's not saying, quit the stage. Yes, I'm rounding up. What are the steps to strengthen compounding in hospital practice? Those hospitals who are not, you do not have compounding units, I beg of you, honestly, you will be respected in that environment if you can take my advice and then do the needful. What do you need to do? Proposal development. Raise a proposal. In your proposal, let the proposal be beautiful, be robust. There'll be introduction, justification. These are I'm mentioning the elements that be contained under the proposal development. Justification for the venture. You have to clearly state to justify because you are presenting to the hospital managers, the CMD and co. Economic advantage must be stressed under that proposal. Capacity enhancement. This compounding you are advocating, how will it also impact on developing the capacity of personnel, both the internees and even the pharmacists, who are already in the employment. Adequate manpower utilization. Yes, there is the need for adequate manpower utilization. You don't just sit down there. I'm sorry to say, in some of the hospitals, it could be so disgusting. It could be so demeaning. It could be demeaning. Now, and then just some few hours, then you're out of the place. No, the the manpower utilization can be also stressed under the proposal development. Space required, cost of equipment stroke Galenical, stroke packaging materials. These elements must be clearly stated under the proposal and submit to the hospital managers. You know, if you back it up, if you pressurize, if you put pressure, I mean, I'm talking of those hospitals who are not into compounding, not Ilorin. I know they are not UITH. I know they have compounding units. Your cry may be accepted. Development of time-tested formulary, stroke compounding procedures. Formulary, you need to have a formulary in form of a mini pharmacopoeia. I have said it over and over. We are there to collaborate. We can develop formulary together, that will make your work smooth. Development of good compounding, what I call good compounding practice, GCP guidelines. Yes, there's need to develop GCP. I'll talk more under NAFDAC when I get there. Then willingness of practitioners. If there's no willingness, there's no way. We have to be willing, and go back to those old days when we left in my own time, when I was fresh from the university. A number of pharmacists, I don't want to mention names, in Ibadan, then that I visited, they had compounding units. I think I've seen Agbanye online today. Pharmacist Agbanye will bear me witness. Some pharmacies there, you see compounding units, you see their, utensils, you see their weighing scale in one corner. You see them, compounding mismatch. Very interesting. Suddenly, this thing started, and we ended up just selling drugs. It is not. It doesn't give us the desired image that we need. We ought to have training. There is need for training to keep us abreast of the modern day techniques. We need to encourage appointment of an hospital pharmacist that will be at the arrowhead of these units. I'm sure UITH has something like this. So these hospitals that are not doing it, you need an anchor person who will be driving it. Then lastly, there is need for synergy between Ministry of Health, hospital management, Association of Hospital Pharmacists, community pharmacists, to actually bring back compounding into our practice. It's the only aspect that will make us to be unique. I'm sorry to say, it's not the clinical practice. The doctors, they are threatened that we are encroaching into their domain. Clinical practice is good. We need it, yes. But we should not, now allow that, to put compounding into oblivion. That would be an error. It's a great error. GCP guidelines. These are what I have proposed as a good compounding practice guidelines. It's a miniature of CGMP, current good manufacturing practice, where simple, easily affordable for compounding, glossy wall paints for easy cleaning of the wall, air conditioner support, especially for Ganelical's dispensary room, compounding record, there must be record. Impervious worktop, sometimes it could be a table with a Formica. Yes, it's okay for compounding. Special laboratory wares, not just anywhere. You have your cap, you have special boots. You change into the laboratory wares before you go into compounding session. And compounding session is not for everybody to walk in and walk out. It's for only those people who are going to be working there. Separation of external or internal vessels. Your vessels for external, you must label accordingly. Internal vessels must be labeled accordingly. Cleaning and disinfection on a daily basis. Immediately after production of compounding, the cleaning must be done. And on a daily basis, disinfection, water treatment. Like I've said earlier, the boiler, connected to your, borehole source. Or if you have water from the main, which I doubt, that is the water from the public. Equipment calibration, very important. You do daily equilibrium calibration before you go into compounding. Smooth continuous floss service. It's not expensive. Maybe a terrazzo floor. It's not expensive. I'm not talking of epoxy. I'm not talking of epoxy floor. That's for the industry, for commercial product, or product that will be on the shelf for a long time. Then development of SOP, standard operating procedures. These are simple guidelines that are actualizable, that can either be adapted in either hospital or community pharmacy. Lastly, steps to strengthen compounding in community pharmacy. The scarcity of hand sanitizers at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic brought to light the need for community pharmacies to produce.
2 minutes more, sir. 2 minutes more, sir.
Oh, sorry.
2 minutes, sir.
Okay, Aros. To produce their own, as well as other essential extemporaneous preparation that may be used for the patients. A number of pharmacies rose to the challenge, and this reduced scarcity and cost. You all are witnesses. The following steps can be taken to strengthen compounding in community pharmacy practice. Advocacy by ACPA to encourage members, to encourage compounding as part of their broad practice. Non-application of stringent rules by regulatory authorities. Now that should not come and bring barrier here. Retraining in simple compounding techniques. Sensitization of the patients on the advantages of extemporaneous preparations. Less dependence on commercial products that can easily be compounded in the pharmacies. Compounding pharmacies should adhere to the standard of the compounding that will finally lead to the desirable pharmaceutical care. Role of regulatory authorities. Advocacy by PCN to encourage hospital and community pharmacies to engage in compounding practice. NADRA should develop minimum standards. Easily compliable guide to compounding practice, not those industrial standards. No, this is the practice, advanced pharmaceutical practice. As a way of quality assurance, practice environment certified for compounding should be allotted General Identification Number, GIN, by NAFDAC. All compounded products within that practice environment will bear that same number. Say Ilorin, just one number. All their compounded products will carry that as a way of standardization. Compounded product distribution has to be restricted within practice environment. Yes, it is within the practice environment. Not that you compound in pharmacy community pharmacy, and you start distributing. No, that's not allowed. Lastly, I'm to the end now. Now, I want to bring this extract out from our licensure. It's so funny to me, and I laugh each time I look at this license, annual license to practice. You see, blah, blah, blah. Having duly paid the prescribed fee is hereby licensed to practice as a pharmacist, blah, 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 and is authorized to import, export, mix, compound, prepare, dispense, cancel, sell, procure, and distribute drugs and poisons. For God's sake, it's only selling, especially in community pharmacy that we are doing. They have become traders, unfortunately. Some don't even dispense. There is difference between selling and dispense. I'm sure we all know the difference. Now, we don't do compounding. Look at premises registration, extract from premises registration. Duly registered for the process, for the purpose of mixing, compounding, preparing, cancelling, and selling of drugs. Again, only selling we are doing. Conclusion: pharmacy compounding is an important professional practice, and the role in the effective treatment of patients with specific disease. The pharmacy profession and regulators need to collaborate to bring this into assistance to invigorate it. We need it very, very aggressively. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, sir. We are all sending in our applause to Dr. Olusola Aremu for the in-depth knowledge and deep insight into how we can strengthen compounding practice among pharmacists in the hospital and in the community. We will all agree that he has given us so much, he has opened our eyes to the various areas of compounding. And I would just want to say in the summary that compounding is for us to meet the drug needs of our patients, personalized medicine to solve their drug need problems. Thank you so much, Dr. Aremu. We sincerely appreciate you. And we have some comments. Somebody is raising up his hand. But in the meantime, we want, hello, are you still hearing me? In the meantime, we want us to send our questions to the chat group right now. They will be harvested and he will be taking them shortly after the second presentation. I recognize fellow Alege, but please hold on, sir. We will take your comments immediately after pharmacist Agbanye gives his own presentation. Pharmacist Agbanye is going to be speaking on mapping of antibiotic resistance. Are you ready, sir?
Yes, I'm ready.
Yes, very good. We welcome you on board. Please, you will be speaking for 7 minutes, please.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Prof, please, can you stop your slides and mute yourself, please? So, Pharmacist Agbanye.
Okay.
Agbanye, yes.
Yes, I am here. Okay, thank you very much. I'm waiting Prof to stop his screen so I can share my screen.
Professor Aremu, please, can you stop sharing your slides? Hello, sir. Is he still there? Is he still there? Dr. Aremu, sir.
Okay, I think I've stopped sharing his slide.
Okay. You are on, Pharmacist Agbanye.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you, Pharmacist Bello, and then thank you, Professor Aremu, for that wonderful presentation. Very enlightening. So quickly, I just want to take us through a short presentation on the project we are working on, mapping antimicrobial resistance and antimicrobial use and consumption partnership. So just want to give them the overview and then the impact on pharmacy practice. So I'm going to be very quick. So this particular grant is funded by the UK government's Flemming Fund. The fund is being managed by Mott MacDonald, an agency that manages a fund for the UK government. So the Flemming Fund is divided into three. There is a country grant, there is a fellowship grant, and there is a regional grant. So just to be very fast, our work is on the regional grant, so to support regional One Health approaches to improve the surveillance of antimicrobial resistance. So our focus on the project is on human health. So the country grant is focusing on One Health, that's inclusive of environment and then agriculture. So we are focusing on human health. So what is MAP? MAP is Mapping Antimicrobial Resistance and Antimicrobial Use Partnership. So the project is funded, as I said, by the UK government, the Flemming Fund. So the principal recipient is ASLM, African Society of Laboratory Medicine. So there are other partners on the project. We have the CDEP, the Center for Disease Dynamics, Economics and Policy. And then we have IQVIA, which is where I work, where we are on the ground. So IQVIA and CDEP are actually doing the on-ground work and then analysis of the data from the field. So we have INSTEAD, who is the technology partner. We have the West African Health Organization, the East and Central African Health Community, who are strategic partners. And then we have the African Center for Disease Control, who is going to facilitate the support to develop for policies, which are the outputs from the project. So just quickly, the objective of the project. So the objective is actually to collect retrospective data on antimicrobial resistance and consumption in 4 African countries, Nigeria inclusive. So the countries were selected based on UK government priority countries in Africa. So what we are looking at is targeting public and private hospital and laboratories, and then collect their AMR data, AST, antimicrobial sensitivity testing, and then digitize them to a format that is compatible with the GLASS. GLASS is Global Antimicrobial Resistance Surveillance System. So we're using the whole WHO network. Retrieve the data for analysis. And then so we're trying to see the consumption of antibiotics within the 3 years that the project is looking into, 2016 to 2018. And then while we're looking, hello, can you hear me? I think my network is a bit unstable. Okay.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we are looking at those 3 years. Why they are looking at 3 years? Because at the African regional level, there is no much data on antimicrobial resistance to guide policy development. So it's more like a baseline study. So we want to understand the antimicrobial resistance and consumption data. So what's the issue? Is it low testing or low reporting? So we're looking at that level. And then just as I said, provide a baseline landscape within the 4 regions for the project. That's the East, West, Central, and Southern African region. And then also we'll convene a high-level advocacy policy meetings to share findings at the end of the data collection. So this will actually facilitate evidence-based regional coordination. So these are the countries we are working in, just to be fast about it. At the end of the meeting, I know Pharmacist Bello will share the slide with everyone. And then, so for Nigeria, we're working in 100 sites. So the steps in the site selection was that the Antimicrobial Resistance Coordinating Committee, which is domiciled at the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, mapped out labs in Nigeria and then administered eligibility questionnaires to them. So the labs were ranked based on the responses on the EQs. And then at the end of the day, the best overall 25 AST performing labs were selected. So by virtue of selecting them, the co-located pharmacies were also selected. And then to also get a spatial temporal mapping for consumption data, we know sometimes they're out of stock in hospitals. So 2 community pharmacies that are willing to share their data that are actually close to the hospital and then receive prescriptions from the hospital will also be selected. So in Nigeria, we chose 25 sites, and then out of the 25 sites, 14 of them are in the north, based on the outcome of EQs, and then 11 of them in the south. So in total, we have 100 sites. So for every lab, 3 pharmacies, the co-located pharmacy, and then 2 community pharmacies. So this is the distribution of the data collection sites in Nigeria. So as of now, we've actually started a project and we're doing data collection from the 25 facilities just to save the time. And the list of all the facilities are there, and then the status on the data collection and the engagement with the facilities. So University of Ilorin, which is why we are here, is one of the facilities that are selected on the project. So we'll be commencing data collection there sometime next month, that's in November. So this is just an overview of the project. So in terms of benefits to the site, so we're looking at the contribution to understand facility level antibiotics consumption patterns, and then the relationship to drug resistance prevalence at the site. So we're doing the quantification using the DDD, that's the daily dispensing dose, which is being used currently to quantify antimicrobial consumption, that's antibiotic consumption. So we're also looking at opportunity for interested stakeholders to publish antibiotics consumption and resistance trends at the local facility level. So at the end of the work, the data will still be sent back to the facility. So we're doing training with certification to interested staff members on antimicrobial consumption and the antimicrobial resistance. For AMR, we are actually working with the lab. Currently, I'll just dash out just after this call because we're having a meeting with one of the facilities here in Abuja. Then global view of facility as one of the responsive sites. So at the end of the project, we're going to showcase all the facilities that we're working in so that people around the world can also see and also try for funding opportunities in terms of institutionalizing antimicrobial stewardship programs for places where they are not already institutionalized, and also maybe to some kind of support for places where they are already up and going. So I think this is just a short overview Thank you very much, Mr. Bello and everyone. Hello?
Hello, Dr. Agbanye.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for keeping to time and for the presentation. We appreciate you very sincerely. At this moment, we are already harvesting the questions that will be sending to Dr. Aremu. But before then, I want to welcome pharmacist Alege, fellow of Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, for his comments. Pharmacist Chidi.
Thank you. Okay, I should stop sharing. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I have stopped. Yeah, thank you.
Alege, please, can you unmute yourself? Alege. There's also somebody who wants to make comments. Okay, Dr. Williams, are you ready?
Yeah, I am. Good afternoon,
please.
everyone.
2 minutes, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
2 minutes.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Aremu, for that insightful presentation. One of the things that comes to my mind is the financial involvement application for setting up the compounding unit, both in the hospital and the community pharmacies. Is there any package that can be assessed by those facilities to make it easy for the compounding units to be set up? Then two, another thing that comes to my mind is the laboratory assessments, both microbiologically and chemically, of the raw materials and the finished products. Yes, there is extemporaneous preparations, but we know the issue of my Peking issue, teething issue, teething mixture that killed so many children, so that the raw materials that are used are of good quality without having to run the risk of contamination and counterfeiting. Thank you.
Dr. Aremu, have you taken that question, sir? You need to unmute yourself.
I have.
Okay. Then the second question that is similar to that is from a community pharmacy. The person said that there are challenges, that they have a lot of challenges setting up the compounding units in a community pharmacy. What can they do? And then the third question is, where can people go for further training in compounding for both the hospital and community pharmacists? Thank you very much, sir. You have the floor.
Okay. Thank you. Financial involvement, as far as hospital is concerned, that cannot be a constraint because in the hospital system, I believe the fund that will be required is not something that will be out of the reach of the management. What is the amount we are talking about here? Even from my own experience, I mean, the building is out of it. The building is there in the hospital. Water source is there in the hospital. So the basic thing, these are things that can actually go money. They are there already. And apart from this, with even as low as 1 million naira, you know, the hospital can start something. 1 million naira is a little amount that can easily be afforded by the hospital system. In the community pharmacy setting, where for me, it's about a will. When there's a will, there's a way. We know how much we put on our stock in community pharmacy. If you invest, again, if you decide to invest 500,000 naira as low as 500,000 naira. It is not something that you may not be able to afford. Moreover, there are loan facilities here and there now. Some banks are going after people. Come and take 1 million, come and take 200,000, come and take 500,000. Banks are going after people. So if you have a will, you can easily pick a loan of 500,000. That's enough to start at community pharmacy setting. You have pharmacy premises already. And well, except you don't have enough space. But if you have a spacious pharmacy, you can have a session. You divide a session, can be used for compounding. Now, laboratory requirements. Look, the basic things to establish is the authenticity of your raw materials. This is extemporaneous. And to do that, two ways. One, you must have a reliable source. Fine, we cannot depend on that alone. You can liaise with the university system to do some analytical and then, establishment of the compound, the chemicals. That can be done as an outsourcing effort. And in this game, we are collaborating. Nobody is going to ask you to go and bring something that will be outrageous, because we are just there to collaborate to enhance our practice. So the university can be used to establish. I won't say go and buy liquid, go and buy the mass spec. No. That will kill the idea. We can use the facilities in the university. The challenges in the community pharmacy. Honestly, am I still on?
Yes, your answer.
The challenges in community pharmacy, the challenges for me is surmountable. Basically, you're looking at the space. If you have the will from the beginning of setting your pharmacy, the plan, you have conceived the plan that a session will be dedicated to compounding. That has been done from the beginning. But those who have existing pharmacy who did not conceive this idea, that's where there's difficulty, because where is the space? But you are starting out, and then you have this idea, you can plan it alongside the space you are requiring, because space is a challenge. Then the water may be a challenge, because maybe you are in a location where there's no borehole. But again, I also still tell you, where there's a will, there's a way. You can, in your kegs, you can bring, water. You can access water, elsewhere that you can process through boiling for your compounding. What I've said under financial also apply to community pharmacy, and then the laboratory issue. The authentication of our raw materials, it applies. You make use of, we have, qualified people in our system that can help out, in establishing the authenticity, And don't forget, I said reliable source is also very important. For me, with this, you can be on in the business of compounding. Further training, of course, we are colleagues. That's why we are there. We can develop module for training on compounding. That's why we are there. We don't look. I tell you, I have exposure in industrial pharmacy. I was in, I work in the manufacturing outlet. That has compounding has always been my passion in my life. Where I did my internship for 1 year, I was just compounding almost throughout the year. So we are there to collaborate together. We can train, we can develop training module to train people who are interested with no cost. You know, so don't be scared. I'll be happy to see community pharmacists define that they want us to organize training. And then when we train you, my own is that if you don't start, then you will now pay my bill. If you come for training, you must start. If you fail to start, then you have to pay my bill. But if you start, that's my success. And because that's my passion. Thank you. I don't know whether I've done justice.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. You still have 2 or 3 more questions to answer. Okay, you have talked about being very eager to train. Okay, now there's a question from pharmacist Gafar Madein. He said that what should ACPN be doing going forward to stimulate interest of community pharmacists in compounding? Then someone also asked, that's pharmacist Obichuku, said that how can we develop domestic formulary for use by pharmacists in compounding most of the routinely requested medications? Then there's another question that, can we have the contacts of places where we can source reliable Galenicals and quality assurance? Thank you very much, sir. And then we have 2 comments, one from pharmacist Bakao Ali and the other from fellow Olariwaju Alege. Before you go on to answer the question, sir, please, we want to enjoin participants to send in their WhatsApp numbers and their email addresses for the video and slides. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for that, question, pharmacist Gafar Lanri. You know, it's my colleague, my classmates. The ACPN, in my presentation, I said they should embark on strong advocacy to stimulate, to bring back the interest of our colleagues in compounding. I think that's where to start from, because it has been lost. We have all become sellers. You know, sometimes when my old woman, my old woman does not even know, what he will greet me, etau. I hate that when I hear that word, etau. Are you getting what I'm saying? It's like, I don't like it. We know pharmacists have been trained with broad knowledge. ACPA to embark on strong advocacy. Talks like this, they will, mount it up, from several experts, and then maybe the linkage to accessibility of soft low interest rate can also, ACPN can also link members to, and then redesign, refocus, help members to refocus, along this line. There is a lot of profit margin. The way I'm talking, it is to the disadvantage of our colleagues in the industry who are into these simple liquid preparations. I'm sorry, I don't intend to, affect their business. I know I am repeating, I know what I'm saying. If you compound, by the time you sell on your shelf, you can make less than 70%, and it will still be cheaper than when you buy a commercial product and you are now marking up maybe with 25% or 30%. So you are making, it's a lot of economic gain, but maybe, I don't know, I don't want to use the word laziness. I don't know. Meanwhile, these are the things that will mark us differently from the charlatans who are competing with us in this practice of our profession. So I think ACPN, we need to, formulary, I've said it over and over, for the formulary, we can collaborate. We are there. We are there. Not only, I have my colleagues also in the university, in the department, in the pharmaceutics, we can even co-opt, from other universities. We have the network that we can use to develop a robust formulary. If we see those who are interested, we are ready to do that. So I mentioned it over and over. Contacts, where Galenicals can be assessed. My number will be out. I can be contacted on that. And then I'll give 1 or 2 contacts where those Galenicals can be assessed. They are mostly in Lagos. Thank you. I don't know whether I've done justice to the questions.
You have done justice to the questions, sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Olusola Aremu, for the in-depth knowledge that you have shared with us today. And we also want to appreciate pharmacist Agbanye Chidi for the excellent presentation on mapping of antibiotic resistance. And we are looking forward to receiving you in UITH for the project. We appreciate you very sincerely. And we want to, at this moment, appreciate all colleagues from all over the world who has given their time to be on the platform this morning. I recognize Professor Bolajoko Aino from University of Lagos, pharmacist Dr. Obono. Mommy, thank you, ma, from Igbobi. We appreciate fellows of Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. And we've been expecting pharmacist Alege to unmute himself and make comments. And pharmacist Bakao Ali, maybe they are experiencing technical itch. We don't know. And we also recognize fellows of the West African Postgraduate College of Pharmacists. Okay. I will. Okay, let me just hold on and allow pharmacist Bakao Ali for his comments. Briefly, sir, for 2 minutes.
Yes, thank you very much, BJ. I want to appreciate our professor for thought-provoking lecture this morning. He has answered most of the questions, but I want to speak from the perspective of community pharmacy. The problem with art colleagues who ventured into simple manufacturing, but we're having some issues with regulatory agencies. NAFDAC will come and tell you, you have not done this, you have not done that. Police, harassment, PCN, and so on and so forth. So our regulatory issues should be resolved. And as pharmacists, PSN, ACPN should prevail on them. And those of you in academia should also write proposals so that they can allow the community pharmacies to thrive. 2, on issue of financing, as you have rightly said, we have a lot of banks, BOI, Bank of Industry. They are even ready to give you 2 years moratorium at 5% interest rate and so on and so forth. So I want to encourage our colleagues in the community practice to have the will and the willingness to start production, as you have rightly said. And I want to also talk about cost sharing. Cost sharing in the sense that you don't have to have a whole laboratory. We can collaborate with the universities to run some of these chemical and other tests for us, microbial tests, and also with some of the industries around. We can use their laboratory for the testing. So once again, I want to appreciate you, and you have woken up the giant in all of us. So we start looking at the way of starting some of these things. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much for that wonderful comments from pharmacist Bakao Ali, former chairman of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, Kwara State branch. We appreciate you for being on the platform this morning. We also want to recognize our colleagues, all our colleagues from University of Ilorin, Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences, for giving our doctor support this morning. Dr. Mohammed Amali, former dean of the faculty. Okay, yes, is the current dean of the Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Ilorin. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. We also recognize the chairman of FAHAP Nigeria, and all state chairmen of ACPN, chairman of NAHIP, and all CPAN representatives. We would also like to specially thank our pharmacists in the diaspora, Dr. Abdurrahim Malik, We are so grateful that you were able to make it this morning. Thank you so much. And we also appreciate Dr. Kola Mustafa Ma. Thank you for always being here. We pray that the Lord will continue to preserve you and give Nigeria peace. Please don't forget to drop your email address and your WhatsApp phone number for the presentations. And we sincerely appreciate the head of Department of Pharmacy, University of Ilorin Teaching Hospital, Pharmacist Rahman Afolabi, for the support that he keeps giving to the Drug Information Unit headed by Pharmacist Bello. We appreciate him for good leadership, and we thank God for the management of University of Ilorin Teaching Hospital. Until we meet again, we pray that God will give Nigeria peace by all means. Thank you all for being here today. May God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank
we
you.
Appreciate you. Well done, Dr. Aremu. We appreciate you.
Thank you, ma. Thank you, ma.
All right, then.
All right.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
And stay safe.
Thank you.
Dr. Aremu,
God
thank you,
continue
sir.
to protect us.
Amen.